Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Commander's Forge is an area for me to talk about magic, Commander, and basically anything else that I want to. I would like to start today by saying thank you to my newest patron, Draco Lucian. Great guy in the community who I'm in several Discords with, and honestly a lot of fun to play with. Now, moving into what I was going to talk about this week, I didn't really have a plan. Haven't been playing a ton of Magic. I've kind of stayed out of Magic Twitter space. And for the most part, it's just kind of been chilling and working on my weight loss program. So for the most part, I don't really have that much to talk about per se, but I would like to throw out a couple of feelers. Namely, I've built a few CEDH decks, and I would really like to play them, and I need people to play with. So if you're ever looking for somebody to play some CEDH with, you can always reach out to me. And I guess the other one is going to be to say that I might not post anything next week, just because of scheduling and stuff, and I'm going to be house sitting for my aunt. I just don't know if I'm going to have time. Just think today's just going to kind of be a little update on me. Let's see, and I guess I'll start with the bariatric program I'm in. So far I'm going into week 3, and I've lost over 15 pounds. So, sticking to it. There is the option that if just changing our diet and exercise routine leads to weight loss, we may not have to have surgery. So that's just going to be a lot of monitoring throughout the next few months. And yeah, that's kind of it for updates, other than the fact that I'm hella broke. Because changing your diet means spending a hell of a lot more money on quote-unquote healthier foods. So it just kind of, I'm just kind of trying to get through the end of the year. And I'll be right back. Hey, I just want to take a minute to tell you about my Patreon. I know times are hard for everybody, and I know it isn't easy to shuffle around bills and stuff. Believe me, I know that. But if you would like to help support the podcast and me, you can find the links to my Patreon in my link tree, which is always put into the description of either the video or the audio, wherever you're listening to it. It would really mean the world to me. Honestly, I'm just struggling to make ends meet most weeks. But that's it. That's all. If you want to help, the links will be where you can find them. Alright, welcome back. Now, I know in the past I've talked about my Thalia CEDH deck. And since I've been building more, I thought maybe it's time to start showing some of them. So I'm going to start with the second CEDH deck I built, which is Brigi, God of Storytelling. Now, I don't care about the backside of it, so I'm not even going to mention it. But Brigi is a 3/3 god for 2 and a red, and whenever you cast a spell you add red. Until end of turn, you do not lose this mana as steps and phases end. It does have a second ability that says creatures you control can boast twice each turn instead of once, we do not care. The goal of the deck is to drop Brigi and play cheap spells, things that cost 1 or 0 mana, and find different ways to fill our hand and storm off. Speaking of storm, two of the cards that we win with are either Grape Shot, which is 1 in a red for a sorcery, deals 1 damage to target creature or player, but it has storm, so you copy it for each spell cast before it. And Empty the Warrens, which is 3 and a red for a sorcery, and it creates 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens, also with storm. Now, when I was building this, I thought, oh, just go like all instant sorcery, that kind of stuff. And then I thought about it, and I was like, wait. What has a lot of 1-drops in red? And I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, goblins. There's a metric ton of goblins that cost 1 red mana. And some that cost more than that, but for the most part, there's a lot that we can work with. Like Goblin Surgeon. It's a single red mana for a summoned goblin. It's a 0/2, and you can pay 0 to sacrifice a goblin to regenerate a creature. So this is a cheap creature. It will trigger Brigi to make another mana, and then as long as we have another goblin out, we can protect our commander with that. Goblin Welder is a single red mana for a 1/1 Goblin Artificer, but we can tap it to choose target artifact a player controls and target artifact card in that player's graveyard. If there's still legal targets as the ability resolves, the player sacrifices the one that's on the battlefield and returns the one in the graveyard to the battlefield. And a lot of that is to keep problematic artifacts off of our opponent's boards and help return some of our stuff if it happens to get destroyed. Skirk Prospector is another little combo enabler. It's a single red for a 1/1 goblin, but you can sacrifice a goblin to make 1 red mana. Good old Goblin Guide, old staple from Modern. Single red, 2/2 Goblin Scout with haste. When it attacks, the defending player reveals the top card of his or her library. If it's a land card, they put it into their hand. Legion Loyalist is a single red for a 1/1 with haste Goblin Soldier. It has Battalion, so whenever Legion Loyalist and at least 2 other creatures attack, creatures you control gain first strike and trample to end a turn, and can't be blocked by creature tokens. Which kind of leads into the beatdown side of this, because there is a lot of turning creatures sideways if you don't combo off. Ragavan, the Nimble Pilferer, is technically a monkey pirate, but it's an honorary 1-drop. It's a 2/1, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you make a treasure token, exile the top card of their library, and until the end of the turn, you can cast that card, and it has dash for 1 in a red. Rograk, son of Roga, is 0 mana, 0/1 Kobold Warrior with first strike, menace, and trample. Again, this doesn't necessarily swing that often, but it triggers, and we just kind of use that to chain along. Now, I do have a backup Brigi. I mean, it's not really, but kinda. And that's Runaway Steamkin, which is 1 in a red for a 1/1 elemental. And whenever you cast a red spell, if Runaway Steamkin has fewer than 3+1/+1 counters on it, you put a +1/+1 counter on the Runaway Steamkin, and you can remove 3 +1/+1 counters from Runaway Steamkin to make 3 mana. Right. Then some of our other cheaper spells that are also ramp. Yeah. So we have Mana Crypt. 0 mana artifact to be a upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, it deals 3 damage to you. Taps for 2 mana. Mox Diamond is 0, but when it comes into play, you have to discard a land or sacrifice it. It taps for any color. Good old Soul Ring, 1 mana artifact, taps for 2. Mana Vault, 1 mana artifact. Doesn't untap during your untap phase at the end of your upkeep. If the Mana Vault is untapped, it deals 1 damage to you. You can pay 4 to untap the Mana Vault. And you can use this ability only during your upkeep. And then you can tap to add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. Jeweled Lotus is 0, tap, sack it, adds 3 mana of any one color, spend this mana to cast your commander. Lotus Petal, 0, artifact, 0, tap, sack, Lotus Petal, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Mox Opal is a 0 for a legendary artifact with Metalcraft, so you can tap it for 1 mana of any color if you control 3 or more artifacts. Mox Amber is 0 for a legendary artifact. It taps for any color among legendary creatures and planeswalkers you control. And then Lion's Eye Diamond is 0 for an artifact, and you can sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond to discard your hand and add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. And you can play this ability as a mana source. So, yeah, just lots of cheap mana, stuff like that. Now, the trick here is to keep chaining cards. And what I mean with that is our suite of card draw spells. Things like Faithless Looting, which is a single red for a sorcery. You draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards, and it has flashback for 2 and a red. Dangerous Wager is 1 and a red for an instant. You discard your hand and then draw 2 cards. Thrill of Possibility is 1 and a red. Instant additional casting cost. You have to discard a card, but you draw 2 cards. Tormenting Voice is 1 and a red for a sorcery with the same text as Thrill of Possibility. Yeah. And then we kind of augment those with Experimental Frenzy. 3 and a red for an enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play the top card of your library. You can't play cards from your hand, and then you can pay 4 to destroy element Experimental Frenzy. Yeah, we can couple that with Aetherflux Reservoir and Sensei's Divining Top to combo off, because Aetherflux Reservoir is 4 mana artifact. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. You can pay 50 life to deal 50 damage to a creature or a player. The Divining Top is a 1 mana artifact, and you can pay 1 to look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order, or you can tap it to draw a card and then put the top on top of its owner's library. So with Experimental Frenzy in play, we tap the top, it goes back to the top. The Frenzy lets us replay it from the top, which Brigi generates a mana for. And then we gain life for the amount of times we've done it. Then we tap it again, draw that card, put that back on top. And we can cycle it and loop and combo off that way. We've also got Wheel of Fortune in here, which is just everyone discards their hand and draw 7 cards for 2 and a red. And then it's very important that we get to do our stuff again. So we're running Past in Flames, which is 3 and a red for a sorcery. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback till end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost, and it itself has flashback for 4 and a red. And Underworld Breach. 1 and a red for an enchantment. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus 3 other cards from your graveyard. And then, beginning of your end step, you sacrifice Underworld Breach. So, again, just trying to double up on stuff. If we've already cast one of our storm spells and we need to get it back, this is a good way to do it. it's just, yeah, it's just Brigi with goblins and a bunch of cheap spells. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. I'm going to see you next time, I guess. Thank you all for listening. I would like to thank Cody Malpe and Ian Foss of The Crypt for letting me use music from their band, and Erica and Nate Jacobs for making my original logo, and then also Christina Nichols for my new logo. And you can find everything and everywhere I am by looking at my link tree.